Start recording. So this is lesson 3. It's labeled that it's easy, and it really is. It really is easy. I think sometimes we have a stigma about how hard it is to do social media, and part of it is the way we were raised. Part of it is our age. Part of it is not understanding the technology and what it's good for. We'll talk some about that today. And go forward. Our agenda for today is we're going to go over again the cause and the mission. We talk about how can this be easy, and what can I do to post right now, and then questions at the end. So let's just go over the cause and the mission statement. The cause is to increase awareness of Archibus throughout the world. That's why we're doing this. Hopefully it'll bring a return on investment, help us all to gain more money and get a better market share in the world. Our mission is to collaborate our efforts to increase the traffic to our individual websites and the Archibus website for the purpose of increasing sales. Let's just be real. That is why we do this. We love it, and we want the world to know how good Archibus is as well. So how can this be easy? Well, I know that a lot of you may or may not believe this, but you already have a ton of material that's post-worthy. You have probably, at the minimum, you guys got 50 documents, if not hundreds of documents you've written over the years on Archibus that could absolutely just be picked up and dropped into a social media site to answer questions, to provide excitement, and to set yourself apart as subject matter experts. People will be interested in you because of your interests. So just be genuine and be who you are, and go ahead and start to post who you are, so you can gravitate towards, and people gravitate towards you who have common interests. Use your old documents, and I'll show you those old documents today and how those are used for social media posting. And then look for things that answer questions. We're going to go over Rfp responses today. We're going to go over technical documents today. PowerPoint presentations for demos and case studies. Those all have really good information that takes literally just seconds for you to post. Anybody have any questions before I proceed? Okay. So again, like I said, we're going to go over Rfp responses, technical documents, case studies, and demos, and there's a lot more. So one of the Rfp responses that RSC responded to last year was Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. We did not get the RFP, but they asked several hundred questions, and this was one of their questions. Can you please, describe your authentication? And so we answered the question in these 2 paragraphs. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this right now and just show you how easy it is to do social media. So I'm going to go to my RFP response. I have it queued. This was my response. I'm literally just going to copy this and go over to my LinkedIn account, and I'm going to go ahead and just come in here and do my famous Archibus hash mark. If I could spell it right. I don't know why I put an I in there, but I did. And we can do things like, and hash mark SSO. I picked this one simply because on my website, this is probably the 4th largest hit answer. That people are searching this, and they found it, and they did respond to it. So literally, there it is, and you can just hit post, and you can go. It's really that simple. So if you take a look at your RFP responses again, this is the one that was queued, but we answered the next question, which is describe your user provisioning model. Describe the roles-based security model within the system. any of these are very, very, very good responses. And if you look at the sales lion, who I've recommended before, the sales lion says that the number two, after cost, the number two thing is to answer a question or a problem that people have about your software. And so RFP responses are usually the best ones to kind of ferret out those types of responses. Questions on that? Thoughts? Concerns? Okay. Next one is technical documents. And so this is an excerpt of our RSC's CAFM background document, and I will pull that up here real quickly. And at the very beginning of that CAFM document, I have some background information, which basically says, look, every system needs background information. It can come in the form of space information, organizational information, employee, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you've already written it, literally, I'm just going to copy it. And again, I'm going to go over to LinkedIn, and let's just go, background data, right? And you just paste it. And you have to come in here and do some wordsmithing. So for example, for the client's not going to be a proper thing there, since it was my boilerplate. You may want to format it differently, like go ahead and do the returns on the ones, twos, and threes, so it's more like a list. But you can go ahead and do this kind of thing. And again, what I'm trying to get across here is that you have a ton of this information you can already post. It doesn't take 10 hours a week. I'm spending 10 hours a week because I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and I'm pushing lots of data. But you can get going in just a couple of minutes. Thoughts or concerns or questions on this?
Hey, Bob, it's a more generic question to you here. Is, when you talk about reusing information, it's a great plan. I guess my question is, in your experience, how often have you reused the same? So in other words, this background data, would you repost this again in 6 months, or would you move on to something else?
No, I would repost. What I do is I metric things that work better. So I think last session or session before, I put up a video. I produced a video about 2.5 years ago called "Why Archibus," and it's about a 3-minute video on, it's the most palatable, moldable application out there in the market. And I didn't think much of it. It wasn't done very well. It was done in my office with a handheld video camera, and the sound is okay, but not great. And I put that up, and by far, it has had more hits than any other thing I've ever posted. And it exceeded my LinkedIn network. I have something, at the time when I posted it, I had something like 1,200 connections, and it had over 1,500 hits. And I'm planning on reposting it because it appears to be a subject that people want to hear. So yeah, I would definitely regurgitate it again and again, and try it at different times of the day and different days of the week to find out what's the best hit. That's a great question. Are you guys doing that? I guess
because what I'm...
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, not yet. So we're just kicking off some stuff. I've got a refresh on the website that's going to be turned on within, the next few days.
Yep.
And then we have a kind of a campaign strategy that we're about to kick off, and Kelly and I have been talking about that as to posting of stuff. And I guess where I look at it on a very personal level, where I kind of think I don't want to keep seeing the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I'm being very generic here. And I'm worried that if we're recycling stuff, that people start shutting off, either not following or not paying attention to what we're sending out, because it's the same old thing. And I guess you've been kind of at it longer, so you're doing the metrics to judge what to send out again versus what not to send out. So you're doing it based on the analysis.
Yeah, so you bring up a really good point. And And I want to respond to this because this is a really, really good point. I think in the probably the 7 or 8 months that I have been posting almost every day, I think I've only regurgitated 2 articles. I usually always try to do something new every day. And so that's why it's taking me 10 to 20 hours a week, is that I'm digging for this stuff and I'm creating this new content. And so I started off by doing things like the standard rags that Archibus has on their website, like building operations and lease management, portfolio management. And I got a good following. And then it started to tail off towards the end of it. Then I moved into my videos, and those videos did okay. And then the one video did really well, but I posted probably about 3 dozen videos. And then I moved into educational. And what I'm finding by the educational side is that that has, even though it had more hits on my website, it had less hits in my social media. I think simply because I think it's a focused area, and they're either looking or they're not looking. So yeah, I am constantly trying to adjust what I'm putting up and how I'm putting it up. So that's a very, very good. All right. Any other thoughts or questions?
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. So, then you've got to wordsmith it, because this one's gone over by 1,400. So you may take off a paragraph or 2 at the end, and to kind of get it down to where it'll post. But there's that. And then the third one is the case studies, and the case studies I find are real good. So this is an older one from about 8 years ago, about the County of San Bernardino, my client, and I just picked the first 3 paragraphs. Literally, you can just copy it and come up in here and do San Bernardino and post it, and away we go. Really kind of straightforward. The other thing is that you can go into old demos. And so here's a demo we did for Montana State, and this one's going to take a little bit more wordsmithing, but basically, is Archibus scalable, right? So I'm not going to spell that right, so I have to look that up. So, you can come in here and say, Archibus scalable. Here are examples of companies that started small and are now giants, right? And you just come down here and you put it in here, and it is very, very interesting. So what I'm trying to say to the group is that you already have in your possession a ton of things to post, things that you can just immediately get out there and start to help the world understand where this application is. And again, this was an example of the demo we did for Montana State. I know this went very quick. I would like to now have a kind of discussion around the room here. Michelle, I kind of want to put you on the spot because you've gotten Modic up and running. I'd love to kind of hear what's going on for you on that, if that's okay. And then, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I haven't gotten very far with it, but I did get it set up. It was pretty quick and pretty easy because of the way we're set up.
Is it working for you? Are you getting some interesting metric?
It is starting. It is working, and I am starting to get metrics. But honestly, I haven't had a chance to go in and look at a lot of that. I was in there yesterday poking around just to make sure it was getting feeds, that we were getting hits, and it was, properly tracking everything. Unfortunately, I have not gotten much further than that.
Yeah, that's okay. I actually get on mine probably once, twice, or 3 times a day. And I literally, in fact, I'll just do this. I'll come over here to Mautic. I'll log in. And what I look for is my number one that I look for. And I don't know if your dashboards are set up the same way as mine, but I look for this trend. I want to see if I'm staying at about 80 hits per day. And so I'm going to go ahead and apply, see where I'm at today on this one. And oh yeah, so yeah, hit 120 yesterday, which is good. This is where I'm at today. So we're seeing this happen through the week, and I look for that, and then I look also right here at the dwell times. What I'm trying to figure out is my content on my website good enough to keep people there? And about 13 or 14% of the time they're there for longer than 10 minutes, which is getting better. I want it to be better than that. So, and then the second thing I look at is just who in the heck's looking at it, right? So, for example, I have, these are my expatriates. I've got PayPal looking at me. I've got Google looking at me. Stanford's my client. Kaiser Permanente. I've got these people hitting my website, and then competitors plan on. And then I also come over here, I've shown this before, and then see which anonymous people are hitting. So today I've had about 13 or 14 hits from 2 in the morning, and then I can come in here and literally just see what these people have been doing. So let's look at Elmhurst, New York. Looks like it might be one of you guys because it's hitting the marketing one, and then I can come in here and grab the IP address and see if I can't figure out which company this is. And I can't probably because it's usually it's a Verizon, so I can't figure it out. But I do that. So thanks, Michelle, for sharing. Anybody else set it up anything like this to track your social media? And do you have concerns or questions now that we've got the group together?
We set it up, Bob. This is Tim.
Yep.
And so far, we're getting some information, but for example, that IP information that you're getting, we don't seem to be getting that.
Oh.
Did you have to do anything special to get that to work, or?
You're
Actually, Bob.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you click on contacts, over on the right, there's a little thing that you toggle that kind of switches back between the anonymous ones that show the IP addresses versus actual contacts.
Yep.
By default, it goes to this screen.
That's correct.
Because I ran into that issue. I couldn't figure out where all the anonymous ones were.
Yeah, so there's the little help buttons here are pretty good. Like you can filter this list by this, and all that toggle does is put in is anonymous right here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. So if you're capturing a name here, it's because you've got an email in your contact that has hit your website. So when you click this, you'll look now over here at the filter. All it did was put is anonymous in there. And now I can see the IP address. And these are unidentified page hits. But what's really good about this is that, like I said, if you hit this, you could see what these guys, what's being done here. Like, what time, how long. And if you hit this little gear over here, sometimes it'll actually tell you how long they were on the website. 47 seconds on this website, on this web page. So this is really good, solid beginning of information. So, and And then the other thing I was going to say is the way you set that up is you come over here to the configuration side, and there are settings that will allow you to determine how so high IP lookup service, which service, and if you're not getting what you want, you can pick a different service.
Okay.
Right? I've just taken the default one. I've not really changed this at all. So I don't know if this is a good one or not, but it does seem to work for me.
Okay.
Wayne, do you mind sharing? Are you using something similar to this?
So, Bob, we actually use HubSpot.
Yep.
So far, we've really been using HubSpot from a CRM perspective. So I haven't turned this part of HubSpot on yet.
Okay.
But I will be. As we push out the refreshed website and do other stuff, definitely want to do that. So I'm going to be working on that, and I'll give you guys, happy to give feedback on how well that's worked and stuff like that. But we haven't done it yet.
Okay. I'd be interested. I speculate it's a little bit of a coin. There's a little bit of money involved in HubSpot, but I've also heard that they have a free offering. So I don't know if you could shed light on that.
Well, we have a combination what I can tell you is that from a CRM perspective, we run a mixed bag here. So the way it works is that you can have a free version of HubSpot, and then there's a HubSpot Pro. And so the sales team uses HubSpot Pro for what we need it to do.
Yep.
And then the rest of the team provide us, like tech support will put things into HubSpot for action items, but they're using the free instance of it. So you can run a blended environment.
Oh, good.
Which is a bonus.
That's great. That's good.
Which you can't do with Salesforce, right?
Right.
You can't. You got to be all in, or.
That's right.
It's not a mixed bag.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Here's a question for you back to content. I know that you said the goal of this is to increase the Archibus name and brand within the social media landscape and world awareness. Do you find any value in posting industry-related content alongside of this? For example, Michael Willett does a pretty decent job of posting a lot of different content aside from Archibus, or original content that you might write yourself, like an article and post on LinkedIn. Do you see any value in that?
Oh, absolutely. So let's just great question. How I'm going to answer that is, what ultimately we're trying to do is set every one of us apart as subject matter experts in the IWMS or IoT industry. In today's world, people are looking for people who know and are willing to share. So not just know, but are willing to share, and that's how you become a subject matter expert. Is you start posting your opinions about and your expertise about what you know about IWMS, about CAFM, about Internet of Things, about enterprise asset management. So yes, I have a blog site. I write articles on that blog site all the time. It's hasn't gone as the last year has tailed off a bit. I used to drop something like anywhere from 60 to 80 articles a year, and this last year it's like hovering around 10. And it's just simply because I'm focusing more on the marketing side than the blog site. So I need to get back to it. But yeah, I will write. Like this article here really has very little to do with IWMS at all. I'm writing about business, and my wife and I split wood. We probably split anywhere from 2 to 3 quarts of wood a year. And while I was out splitting wood one day, I'm thinking about business, and I just wrote the similarities of splitting wood and business, right? Trying to hit the right grain so you're not working too hard at it, identifying what type of wood, stacking it, and so I just did a very similar thing. When one of our other very good articles was Todd, my tech guy, writing about database SQL queries. It really had very little to do with IWMS. It's just SQL queries, and one of the best hits we've had on our blog site was that. So yeah, I would and even I would even write things that are interesting to you. So for example, I'm a rugby coach, and I talk about rugby sometimes, and that brings in a different audience. And what we're trying to do is just grow this internet web.
Okay. And second question is anybody using Hootsuite as a means of automating postings for the social media sites?
I am.
Okay.
I am for certain things, although I'm starting to get away from that a little bit. There's been some negative press about Hootsuite. People. So, for example, I'm letting Michael Willett know that when he uses an automated system, I can't remember exactly what it is, but some of his postings don't come across with the images, and you can tell that it was an automated.
Yep.
It was an automated post. And
I have noticed that. Yep.
Yep. And so that's a bit of a ding, right? So I would be careful. Maybe careful is not the right word. I would use Hootsuite strategically. We use Hootsuite. I have things scheduled all the way into the end of 2018 going into 2019. So does everybody else know what Hootsuite is? It's basically a scheduling thing. You can actually schedule articles to go in at certain times and certain frames. I can show that to you on another session. But are you using it, David?
I am. I've been using it quite regularly for the last several months at least. And I have noticed, as you said, Michael Willett, some of his postings are, they seem to be automated, and sometimes the links are not working. They go to some sort of an Apple app, and then it kind of just dies right there. So I was going to mention that to him at some point. But I have been using Hootsuite and scheduling I usually schedule about 4 weeks out. I have a separate Gmail account where I try to build in some industry emails. I try to get some industry news related to IWMS or Archibus or perhaps BIM or something like that. And I curate that and post it on under the online account on Hootsuite.
Awesome. I mean, Mike.
Hey, Bob, I was going to weigh in on. Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say that I think that's part of the challenge. It's a good question about posting stuff and doing your own stuff, because I think part of the challenge is the time that it takes to write your own thing. So repurposing stuff is definitely a great advice to doing that. And also, I think industry stuff is great. If you're kind of curious, you want to make me presenter real quick.
Sure.
I can
do
show
that.
something real quick. And I think the other thing that we're trying to do with some of this that's helping here is, and this gets into the competitive landscape, right, of who should be promoting who kind of idea, but I think that there's an opportunity for us to promote each other.
Absolutely.
And so this is what the website coming is going to look like. But within the website, our new website, when you kind of scroll down to a number of things that we do, there is, I guess I just wanted to highlight the Stay Connected here. And we're going to revamp this because I don't think this is the right way to do it. But in here, some of the postings that we're doing are client related, but some of them are more generic, right? And they're really, really short, a couple hundred words type of things. So
yes.
It's definitely the right thing to do is to mix some of these things. And then I think what would be good is for us that agree with each other's way of doing business and cooperation is starting to promote some of these things, because you can kind of see that establishing the right technology partnership, obviously I'm trying to get people to connect with us, but the message that's in there is just as important for you guys. And so you might read that article or that little blurb and go, yeah, you know what? I actually support that idea, and I want people to reach out to me for those reasons. So some of them are going to be Archibus-centric and promoting Archibus, and some of them are going to be more generic. But I do think that the more that we interconnect, and this is a message we've given to Archibus, is that they need to be promoting what we're promoting just like we're promoting what they're promoting. And then just by sheer numbers, we'll have way more promotion.
I couldn't agree with you more, Wayne. I think that our era now is that we do need to cooperate more. And I'm not even going to call it co-opetition anymore. I think it's cooperation. I think the reality of it is I don't think we really step on each other's toes as much as we think we do. We don't. And we play well in the sandbox, and I think we need to start advertising that.
And so you see this particular little article, it states the source, right, of Bedrock data. So we didn't actually write this.
Right.
But it maps to our thing. So the work involved is to kind of find these sources, but there's lots of stuff out there now, so it's really easy.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. A lot of the stuff that I do is literally just straight Archibus stuff, and I just, you just show the source, and as long as you show the source, indicating it's not yours, that's actually very good stuff because you believe in it, right? And that's great. All right, guys, we're 3 minutes past. Is there any other things we want to talk about, and what is our next subject for next Friday? Any other topics? I've got plenty of them, so I'll continue to do this. I want to thank everybody for coming. Please pass the word. I'll have this posted in a little bit. Go ahead. Wayne, you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was on mute, sorry. One of the things that Autodesk is talking a lot about when they teach social media is that it's not enough just to market, but also to drive clients to behave the way you want and to always have an action item and actually get them into a point where you want them to do something, such as call you, fill up a form, eventually purchase something, right? And I'm wondering how much of the Mautic work that you do is dedicated to conversion. I mean, converting visitors to prospects and customers.
Ask the question again. How much is?
How much of your work that you do with Mautic allows you to do conversions, to convert people that just click and want information to be a customer? Yeah, that's the age-old question. That's the hardest part.
I have found that I haven't quite got it converted to a customer per se yet, but it has made me aware of individuals that are hitting my website. For example, when I went to a conference, the CFTA conference in July last year, I had already had this thing going, and I ran across the person from USC who had been hitting my website. And I wouldn't have known that without Mautic. And so that gave me an opportunity to kind of create a really good relationship with a person who's already looking at my website. And I would have never known that without this tool. And so we now still have a dialogue going on, and hopefully that can convert. So. All right, guys. Anything else? All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this, and we'll see you next Friday, and have another great session on this stuff, and let's start taking over the world. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.